Hello there, good evening and welcome to Political Lens on Voice of the People Television, VOP. We are broadcasting on Metro SLTV channel 264 and on YouTube we are Voice of the People Television. On other social media platforms we are VOP TV Live. This is an interactive conversation. You are free to call in or send in WhatsApp messages to the number showing on your screen. The number is 0904-473-2605. I am Chukwuma Okoro. And I use this opportunity to wish Nigerian children happy Children's Day as to celebrate them and their yearnings for a better Nigeria that gives them equal opportunities to excel in their choosing endeavor. Well, on the show today we have Wike PDP fight gets Messier as Wike Seals PDP headquarters. That's the Watata Plaza. Plus, Buhari, Tinubu can't fight terrorism. We Nigerians are asking because of what happened to Shik Gumi when he was sent packing from Saudi Arabia. This evening, we are looking at the sealing of the PDP national headquarters in Watata Plaza, Abuja, by one of its own, the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, for the non-payment of ground rents for 28 years and a 14-day respite offered by the President for affected entities to pay up or forfeit the property. Is the President doing it in good conscience, or is he playing politics of posturing? We'll find out in the course of the show. We'll also look into the deportation of ferry cleric Shik Ahmed Gumi, from Saudi Arabia by the authorities, and the reaction from Nigerians who are asking if the Saudi authorities are sending a message that former President Buhari and the current President Bola Ahmed Tinubu don't have the political will to fight insecurity. Well, let's bring in our guests. We are joined by Mr. Dele Fanimo, a seasoned reporter and VOP in-house analyst. We'll also be joined in the course of the show by Dr. Dayo Kayode, a social commentator and political affairs analyst. He will join us virtually. Dele, good evening. And
good evening.
Thanks for coming to Political Lens. It's always a pleasure to have you here.
We are at it again.
Thank you very much. Life and blood.
Yes.
Now, here we go. The infighting between major stakeholders of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, took an unsavory dimension yesterday as officials of the Federal Capital Territory, Administration, FCTA, acting on the instructions of the Federal Capital Territory Minister, Nyesom Wike, a top PDP member serving in an APC government, sealed off Watata Plaza, the building housing the National Secretariat of the PDP in Abuja, over unpaid ground and tenancy rents. Well, Larry Olayinka, the Senior Special Assistant on Public Communications and Social Media to the FCT Minister, Nyesom Wike, said the plaza owes 7,603,504 naira 31 kobo as 28 years ground rent. He said on Watata Plaza being used as PDP National Secretariat, 7,603,504.31 is being owed as 28 years ground rent, he wrote on his Facebook page on Monday afternoon after the sealing off. The building was part of the structure sealed off by the FCT administration on Monday. Others included the complex's housing and commercial bank, the Federal Inland Revenue Service, FIRS, and the Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, NAPTIP, at the Wuse Zone 5 in the nation's capital. At the FIRS, FCT officials had clashed with security guards and some staff of the agency who tried to prevent them from gaining entrance into the property, but they were later allowed into the building before sealing it off. According to Larry, the FIRS has not paid ground rent for 25 years. Monday's sealing off came a few months after the FCT administration lamented that over 6 billion naira had been lost as revenue due to non-compliance by some property owners in the payment of their ground rents for over 10 years. Last week, the FCTA, in a statement by Larry and the administration's director, Department of Development Control, Mukhtar Galadima, ordered the taking of possession of the 4,794 properties revoked over non-payment of ground rent for between 10 and 43 years. Ownership of the revoked 4,704 properties in the central area, Gariki 1 and 2, Wuse 1 and 2, Asokoro, Maitama, and Guzape districts had already reverted to the FCTA. And as from Monday next week, that's this week, the government will begin to exercise its rights of ownership on the affected landed properties, the statement read. As usual, this will be done without consideration as to ownership of the affected landed properties. It will be purely in line with extant laws and regulations guiding the process. According to the FCTA, the buildings now belong to the administration. Mr. Lelefanimo, you've heard everything. You are very conversant with what is going on in the FCT. Now, the People's Democratic Party National Secretary, popularly known as the Wadata Plaza, has been sealed off by the FCT administration under the ministership of Nyesom Wike, who is also at the center of the crisis rocking the major political party and once acclaimed largest political party in Africa. We are talking about the PDP. Do you smell a rat in all of this?
There is no rat.
Okay.
As far as I'm concerned, if you know that you are being stalked, somebody is trailing you, the plausible thing to do is to safeguard your life, protect your life, and ensure that that person does not come to deal with you. Now, whatever it is, whatever political meaning anybody is reading to this, the question I want to ask is, why did PDP allow this to happen for over 20 years? It shows the level of impunity. We're talking about, I'm sure that is a carryover of that we are there. This thing started while they were in government. So obviously they knew at that time that nobody was going to touch them, because that's the secretariat of the ruling party as at then. So there was no way anybody could even imagine going into that edifice. I know what that plaster, behind it is a shopping mall in Abuja. Now, if you are in that kind of prime environment and you are told to pay 7-point-something million naira over a period of time, and you refuse to do that, this is a party that the nomination form of just House of Assembly member is enough to pay that ground rent.
One state.
Not all the House of Assembly members.
Just one.
Just one is enough to pay that ground rent. Because I don't see anywhere where PDP House of Assembly members pay less than 10 million naira.
Okay.
So now, but because they are used to impunity, they decided that nothing will happen. But a new sheriff came to town and said, no, I'm not going to have all of this. And they are not the only victim of this. Even the current government's establishment, Federal Inland Revenue Service, is NAPTIP is also there. So nobody will tell me that it's a vendetta and I want to buy that.
Okay.
I'm not going to buy it.
Nigerians are asking, is it all of this that is going on, is it because of the crisis within the PDP? And now the question is, assuming Wike wasn't part of the APC, and he was serving in government.
In government.
Now let me rephrase the question. Nigerians are asking, assuming all was well between Wike and the PDP, they're asking, do you think that Wike would have gone ahead to seal the PDP secretariat? Devoid of the problem that they are having now.
There was no way Wike would isolate PDP in this matter, because this is a sweeping move to recover seemingly lost revenue for the FCT, and nobody is going to be spared. After all, the other time, he went for the jugular of the president. Later on, the president said, I don't have such property in Abuja. And so if you say you don't have that property, then another person is not showing up, then government should forfeit that, confiscate it. You see, whatever way we want to look at it, we need to separate Wike as a politician and Wike as a government functionary. For me, I went to Abuja recently.
Okay, I was coming to that.
I went to Abuja recently, and you need to listen to what residents of Abuja are saying about Wike. They said after El-Rufai that they had never had a proactive, hard-working FCT minister like Wike. That even roads that nobody would imagine that federal government would touch had been touched by Wike. where there were bottlenecks before he came, he had erected structures, overhead bridges, crossover and all that to make life easier. So if anybody is looking at Wike as a politician, I would rather look at him as somebody who has come to rescue FCT residents. Because I am not saying this, it is the talk of the town in Abuja today that Wike has done extremely well for them in terms of infrastructure, renewal and all that. So, but coming back to this game, if there's something I don't like in this part of the world we call Nigeria, is this question: why me?
Okay.
The moment anybody commits a crime and he knows that he has committed that crime and he also knows the consequence of that crime, the first thing he will do is to scan around and say, but somebody did this thing, they didn't touch him. But why are they touching me? Then he will now begin to look for excuses. He will not take responsibility and begin to look at, you see, they're after me because I don't belong to their party. They're after me. Why did you commit that crime in the first place? Is it not? I'm sure there were notices to Wadata Plaza.
There were notices, because this is not the first time we are hearing about it.
Exactly.
And in all of this, the PDP still remained adamant. Instead of clearing, as we speak now, the next meeting of the PDP is holding in Abuja, in another location, away from the Wadata Plaza. And how can I put it now? I understand, and Dele, you also know that there is no way this next meeting will not take PDP anything in the neighborhood of 50 million naira.
Of course.
To conduct. So why has it been difficult for them to bring out 7 million naira
to pay and
then rent?
Get their office back?
Now, Nigerians are reacting, and one of the people that have reacted is elder statesman Olabode George. And he says, look, let's listen to Olabode George. Producer, please put out the video. Let's listen to Olabode George, because he had a lot to say about what's going on between the PDP and Nyesom Wike with regard to sealing of the secretariat.
Locking up of our party, it is absolutely sacrilegious, unacceptable, and culturally inadmissible. One, the Minister of Federal Capital Territory, Wike, Governor Wike, my political son, it looks like as if this is the party that brought you to life. It's like going back to your village and you have your family house. They haven't paid some ground rent and you are the chairman of the local government. The next thing you will do, how much were we owing? 7 million naira, which you could pay. Liken it to his father's property, and then as a member, the same party that gave you the ticket to be chairman of a local government, the ticket to be chief of staff to a governor of PDP, you became a minister of state under PDP, you became a governor for 8 years under PDP. So, who brought you up? Who made you? It's and if anything that would bring odium, public odium to your family, approach it. Nothing that is perpetual. You know, the public image now of PDP, it is bad, it is that, they are joking. I want to challenge him to that they should go and check the property being used by APC as their headquarters in Abuja will probably fall in the same. People could be careless. It's not a monumental amount of money, but the political image, the political insinuation is enough
Elder statesman Olabode George talking about the sealing off of the PDP secretariat. You heard him loud and clear.
Maybe this is the way politicians think.
No, so what's your reaction? Is there any justification?
It
Look at what he's saying about Wike, being able to, trying to reduce it to a family. What's your reaction to what Elder statesman Olabode George said?
I'm really disappointed that Bode George is saying this. Having governed a state as a military governor, and my state for that matter, Ondo State. What is the responsibility of somebody put in office? Is to make sure that he carries out the responsibilities attached to that office, regardless of who is involved. I was expecting him to say what kept PDP from paying ground rent. You are saying it's too infinitesimal for Wike. But how would Wike be feeding a party? He has done that before, and it was rubbish at the end of the day. And how do you even justify Wike using his personal money to pay for PDP in the office where he presides? I don't know how this man is even looking at this thing. Why I'm disappointed is because he was once a governor. So he's going to, if that means when he was governor of my state, he was sacrificing the rule of law for emotion and sentiment. And where would that lead us? This PDP National Secretariat failed to pay for over 25 years. And you are still sitting there and justifying that Wike shouldn't do what he has done. And this man has not even singled out the PDP. We have NAPTIP, we have FIRS, we have others that are government institutions. We have private concern. I saw a logo of a bank that is about to be sealed in that video.
Yes, one bank. A bank was also sealed for not paying ground rent.
For not paying ground rent. So why should PDP be isolated?
But he said something. He said, we should go and find out if APC has also paid.
That is not my responsibility. It's the responsibility of PDP if they want to tackle APC along that line. And I'm very sure Wike is smart enough to have made sure that APC had paid up to date before going to see PDP. Okay,
now, so there, in a manner of speaking, all the FCT ministers that served during the PDP years turned a blind eye to this impunity.
Exactly.
Talk about Nasir El-Rufai, Bala Muhammad, who is the current governor of Bauchi State, and he's the chairman of PDP Governors Forum. Talk about Adamu Aleru, who just left the PDP now to APC, and talk about Aliyu Modibo Umar, all of the PDP who now accuse APC of misgovernance. What does that tell you about the character of our leaders?
The point now is Bala Mohammed was once FCT minister.
He is now
governor of Bauchi. He's now oblivious of what he should have done. That means he was not effective in FCT when he was there as minister. Because if he was effective, he would have known that some other structures apart from PDP secretariat were owing FCT. So he left revenue. In fact, that person should be called to question.
Because like later
he left revenue.
6 billion naira in revenue been lost to by the FCT. Ground rent alone. And we are talking about even FIRS. I'm told that the chairman of FIRS is saying that they have paid up to date. So let him take his papers to FCTA and then find out if he has paid, and then they will unseal his premises. What is honorable for APC, for PDP, is to find a way of paying that money before the expiration of the 14 days window that the president had given everybody that is affected. We are talking about over 4,000 house property in FCT that have refused to pay ground rent. And this is a law that was not just promulgated this year and then have retroactive effect for the last 20 years or 25 years. So it has always been there. And one thing about the law is that
if it's not abrogated or repealed, one day it will wake up. It's just in a coma. Because when a new sheriff comes to town, it will just activate that law and it becomes effective.
Okay, well, when you talk about the notice that was given earlier on, which is about 2 months or more, and PDP failed to pay up, Nigerians are asking, does it look like PDP just simply kept quiet so that they will play victimhood and now play into the sentiments of Nigerians, so that it will look as if APC, is trying to hound them, is trying to oppress them, is trying to clamp down on opposition, because that is what it looks like that the PDP is saying now. A lot of PDP members are saying, no, this is not proper. If we were in power, we wouldn't have done it to the other party.
You know what? One thing I've seen in all of this is when you take impunity too far, it becomes a norm. This is not the first time. They would have been served notices in the past years, and they decided not to heed those notices and nothing happened. So they expected that after this one, it shall pass and nothing will happen. But this is a man that is intentional. For God's sake, as bad as our currency is, 6 billion can do a lot of things in Nigeria today. And so, if that revenue is lying somewhere and somebody discovers that he wants that money and he decides to serve notice, the honorable thing is for you to obey and pay. If you are talking about Labour Party, AAC, ADC, whatever, not even Labour Party, if you are talking about these comatose parties that have secretariats, then you can begin to excuse them that after all, they don't have anybody to bring returns. But not PDP. PDP, as we speak, you are talking about Wike using his personal money. You, as Bode Judge, you have benefited so much from PDP. You were chairman of Nigerian Port Authority, a cash cow. And you mean you don't have 7-point-something million to pay to save the face of PDP, that are now shifting it to another person?
Does it look like our leaders suffer from an undue sense of entitlement?
That is it. That's what is leading. I said when you decide to show impunity to law, rule of law, it comes back to you and say, after all, nothing will happen. I remember the case of Jigadero in the 70s. When he killed that man in Orile Agege, and when the judgment was passed, arrogantly in the court, he said, "What is this saying?" He was asking his lawyer, "What is the judge saying?" Because he never believed in his wildest imagination that he could get death sentence. But at last, the law took its course. That is the level of impunity. Even as we speak, our children at home, if you indulge them to a certain level, that thing you indulge them on will become a norm in that house. And when you are trying to stop it, it becomes a big problem.
Okay, big problem. There's a saying that no society can ever overcome whatever it condones.
That is it.
Now, the president, as the governor of FCT, you know that the minister is holding that position in trust for the president.
Yes.
Has also given a 14-day, respite for people who are affected to pay up or lose the property. Now, between the minister and the president, who do you think is playing politics with all of this?
No, you see, the FCT minister has done his job.
Okay.
And to the extent of his power. But the president, as his principal, has overriding powers over whatever he decides to do.
Okay.
And it is not for PDP alone that the man is doing it.
Okay, exactly the point, because the question
the
question is, people are asking, is the president doing it because PDP is involved so that he could score a political capital to say, look, people that say that I'm trampling on opposition, people say that there is a clampdown on opposition. Look at what happened. I even saved PDP when they were about to lose their property. I was the one that saved them. Does it look like the president is posturing to the public, or do you think that he's doing it in good conscience?
One, there are two ways to look at it.
Okay.
The first is some people may need to run around to raise money, and it won't be fair for people to lose their property just like that. Some of these people that are involved, some of them may be pensioners that they have to run around to beg people to rescue them to pay. And so the 14 days, in fact, I would have expected that they would have given them a month within which to pay up. Because I have seen it happen in my neighborhood. Some people bought land, built, and they have been staying there for upward of 10 years. Suddenly, there was a new court judgment that ceded it to the rival family. And so they have to pay, they have to negotiate and pay a certain amount of money before their property will not be confiscated. Do you know that they gave them 3 months, and some people didn't have the means to pay, that they had to come and bulldoze their houses. You imagine somebody who had been in his own house for upward of 10 years or more, suddenly becoming a tenant. It can be traumatic. Some people may not even survive it. So I think the president must have been magnanimous to say, he's not going to look at PDP. PDP has erred, and so be it. But I'm sure that he's looking at some private individuals that are caught up in this, that they needed to at least get some level of respite so that they can pay up, and then the property reverts back to them.
Okay. All right. Now let's move on to another story. In another development, prominent Nigerian Islamic cleric Shik Ahmed Gumi has been denied entry into Saudi Arabia for the 2025 Hajj, despite holding a valid visa and arriving as part of Nigeria's official religious delegation. Fresh details have emerged indicating that prominent cleric like Sheikh Gumi was aware of the entry restriction imposed on him by Saudi Arabian authorities before he embarked on the 2025 Hajj pilgrimage. The cleric had on Monday claimed in a public statement on his official Facebook page titled My Hajj 2025 that he was turned back at the Medina airport on Saturday despite holding a valid visa. However, an official at the National Hajj Commission of Nigeria, NACON, who spoke on the condition of anonymity, explained to journalists that Sheikh Gumi had since been banned from entry into the kingdom and was fully aware of the restriction placed on him. The official clarified that the issuance of a visa by Saudi authorities does not guarantee entry into the kingdom, particularly for individuals who have been flagged by security or immigration systems. They have since been banned from entry into the kingdom. They normally will issue a visa, and then upon arrival, they will not allow you to leave immigration and will deport you. He is not the only person deported this year. When pressed further if Gumi was aware of the entry restriction placed on him, the official responded that yes, he is aware. Meanwhile, Gumi suggested that the move by Saudi authorities was politically motivated while attributing it to his outspoken views on global affairs. Gumi, known for his controversial stance on national and international issues, said, "For some obvious reasons, my views about the world politics, the Saudi authorities are uncomfortable about my presence in Hajj after giving me the Hajj visa. Thanks to the Nigerian authorities who have pledged to take up the matter immediately with Saudi authorities. That is the value of our cherished freedom and democracy. I am now free to attend to my health and farming activities. We should continue to pray for the safe return of all pilgrims, peace and prosperity for our dear nation." Daily information has emerged that Sheikh Ahmed Gumi had been flagged by security agencies in Saudi Arabia and had been duly notified that he is not accepted into Saudi Arabia. Yet he applied for visa, was granted visa, and he went on the sponsorship of NACON, funded by taxpayer money, only for him to be deported. Money and time wasted on him. What does this say about the character of the cleric and even public officers who aided him in this process?
You see, it's just a continuation of how people are so soaked in on impunity to the extent that they feel that they can do anything and get away with it. And it's also a shame. Nigerian government should bury its head in shame for allowing this kind of embarrassment to our country. Somebody that has been on watch list, does it mean that he's not aware? He's aware. And he feels that he can beat the security in Saudi Arabia. That's why they enlisted him to even lead a delegation of Hajj. Somebody that has been profiled as too close to terrorist groups and bandits. Now, when I tell people that when you do certain things over a period of time, even if you are given to lies, do you know that if you tell lies often, it becomes the truth to you?
Even when it's a lie.
Even when it's a lie.
And you know it's a lie.
You know it's a lie initially, but you start taking the toga of truth because you have said it several times. Now, are we not ashamed of ourselves in this country that it took the embarrassment of Saudi authority to send somebody like Gumi back to Nigeria, and they prevented him from taking one of the 5 pillars of Islam? Is it not a shame? That's just an extension of what happened 2 years ago or 3 years ago when he took UAE, that terrorism in Nigeria has no effect on UAE. It doesn't have anything to do with UAE. But they took it upon themselves to track illicit funds flow to terrorists. And in the process, they got 411 Nigerians and their collaborators on the radar of moving money to fund terrorism in Nigeria. And Buhari sat on it till they left. Not a whimper. The current government has spent 2 years. By Thursday, 29th, they would have spent 2 years in office. In fact, by tomorrow, they would have spent 2 years in office. 2 years in office, yes. Now, not a glimpse of that file from the current government. So are we waiting for when UAE would have to come up with that list? And then you are saying we are fighting terrorism, we are fighting terrorism. Even this Gumi, he shouldn't be left to even be disgraced in Saudi Arabia. How could you suddenly become a negotiator between terrorists and Nigerian government? To the extent that you go to the enclave of a terrorist who is even not a Nigerian, a Nigerian, sit with him with our security forces at the background, and the next shoulder to shoulder is the ragtag security of Troji. You hold meeting with him, you discuss, you come back to Nigeria and say, these people, they are fighting a just cause, so we have to settle them. Where in the world
is that done?
Is that done? Settling. So American government would have called Osama to a round table and settle Osama so that he will not continue to terrorize Americans all over the world. How could you? And this is one person that is even equating the actions and of these terrorists as that of the agitation of the Niger Delta or the agitation of Biafra for the sovereign state of Biafra. Can you see the illogical thinking that the so-called people that find themselves in position of authority in this country? This is a Gumi that was once in the military. How could you negotiate with somebody that killed and maimed Nigerians, and not even a Nigerian,
including Nigerian soldiers?
Of course. Whereas he was chased out of his own country by the military. Now he now finds a safe haven. And then our security men, if Gumi, who does not have the capacity to even locate the den of these criminals, could go there, sit down and have talks with him, and you have not arrested this Gumi to come and give you how to navigate to this site so that the Air Force can go there and clear these people once and for all. Whereas Buhari, when he was in government, when in Arepo here, when they were doing legal bunkering, after chasing them for about 2 or 3 times, they came with Air Force jets and bombed everywhere. And there were collateral damage in the process. But government knew that they have to take out these people. And at the end of the day, you can't find such in that place. So what are you saying? That you cannot take out these terrorists within Zamfara? Even if there's no war without casualty. Yet you pamper them. You even have the effrontery to come and tell government that. Do you know that I saw a memo signed by 2 governors contributing money for terrorists.
Yes, monthly rentals.
Monthly rentals. Somebody like Toji, a Nigerian that is not even a Nigerian, is collecting 200 million naira every month. For what? 200 million naira that is enough to sink borehole in more than 10 communities. And that man takes that 200 million times 12. That's 24 million.
No,
240 million.
Okay, I had a guest on the morning show this morning, Barrister Clem Sagui, and what his opinion was that, look, that the Saudi government has clearly done what the Nigerian government
couldn't do,
but failed to do. Now, in all of this, what do you think about the sincerity and intentionality of the government in fighting terrorism and insecurity? If they cannot profile someone like Shik Ahmed Gumi and he's walking the streets free, negotiating with terrorists and all of that, does it speak to, when government says, look, we even have, the other day, Borno State Governor, Professor Zulum said, look, politicians and people in government are informants to terrorists and all of that. And up until today, we've not heard that nobody has been arrested. Not even one person has been arrested. The National Security Advisor is still sitting in office. The Chief of Defense Staff is still there. The Minister of Defense, the Minister of State for Defense. How does it speak to the intentionality or otherwise of the government, past and present, in fighting insecurity?
I've always said it, that the day government decides to fight insecurity in this country, it won't take government more than a month, and there will be no Boko Haram, there will be no bandits. Those ones are not even bandits, they are terrorists. Because bandits come en masse, loot, and go.
And run away.
But when you now begin to dictate and taking swaths of land within the Nigerian territory, and you are called a bandit, it's a stupid statement. These guys are terrorists and they should be labeled as such. What did IPOB do? What did the OPC do that they labeled them terrorist group? How many people did the OPC kill? How many people did the IPOB kill? That are now on the terror list of government. I mean, it's crazy. How can you tell me that a fighting force like our Nigerian Army, Nigerian Navy, and the Nigerian Air Force cannot tame a ragtag army? We also hear that sometimes when they want to rout these people, somebody from Abuja will call and say they should retreat. I don't know how far that is true. But if that is true, then why are we deceiving ourselves? Why are we playing ostrich?
Exactly the point, because I was coming to that. You know, there seems to be an element of politics in this insecurity.
You see, it's not even politics alone. Chukuma.
Okay. What more is involved?
There is so much money that people get from this trouble that we are in. Any state that has security issues that has escalated beyond the normal, the security vote of that state governor increases.
Okay.
2, as far back as 2019, I met a military officer on my flight from UAE, Dubai, to Nigeria. And he told me that as at that time, majors in the theater of war, they were making thrifts of 3 million naira every month. Where is that money coming from? When at that time, the salary of a major was about 430,000 a month. So when the salary is inversely proportional to what they are pushing out, and for somebody to push out 3 million naira as monthly trips, and consistently he has not failed, that means he's making much more than that. Because out of this proceed, he will want to enjoy good life. He will send money to his family at home, and he will also say they should build a house for him and all that. So where is that money coming from? Look at the huge budget. To Kano aircraft that we are making noise that we want to buy, that after all we have respite. How many times have they deployed to Kano jet to fight insurgents?
Okay, now that's on the economic side of it. I want us to examine the political, you know, because looks like there's a resurgence of this insecurity, more like what happened between 2013 and 2015.
It's the same thing.
Replay?
As a matter of fact, it's the same script that they dusted and they are trying to apply now. I won't be surprised if this thing escalates more than this by towards the end of next year, when we would have been preparing for elections, just to discredit the current administration. It will happen because this was what they did to make sure that Jonathan was routed out of this country. Now, and they gave us the impression that once Buhari comes, insurgency, banditry, and all the rest will be a thing of the past. But have we seen any late? Okay. For 8 years of Buhari?
Now, a lot of Nigerians say that they were able to ride roughshod over Jonathan because he was more like a weak personality. You're a psychologist. If you study this current president, does he come across to you as somebody who's weak? Does he look like he's hamstrung? Why is he not able to, you know, push back all these? Because look at what happened the other day. A lone wolf, you know, blew himself up while trying to bomb the military barracks in Abuja. I think that was yesterday. So does it look like the president is hamstrung? Does he come across to you as a weak fellow also? Why is he not pushing back, you know, in all of this? And he keeps returning. He returns the two ministers in the Ministry of Defense, both the minister and the substantive and the Minister of State, are also from the north. And come to think of it, the former governor of Zamfara State, who was almost chased out of his state by bandits, Matawale, is the Minister of State for Defense. Yeah, the president finds it convenient to return him in that position. Does it look like the president is also a weak person?
You see, one thing I know is that it's very easy to criticize outside of government, but when you get to that seat, you will see a lot of things. I'm sure that the president, as commander-in-chief of the armed forces, gets security reports on an hourly basis across the country through the Director General of the DSS, and this is subject of appraisal by the security chiefs. And I am hoping that the president, as a person, should have that political will.
And the question is, does he have it? That's the question. Do you see him as one having that will? The political will? See, we know that there are areas he has the will. He's been described as a master strategist.
Yes.
But in this case, does he seem to have that will? Do you see him having that will?
Tinubu has never been in the military.
Okay.
And so he will rely heavily on the advice of his security advisor, his service chiefs, and the CDS. And he would expect that whatever is the collation of aggregate opinion and strategic move that they bring to his table is what he would implement. He cannot just use executive fear to say, this is what I want. It must be derived from the advice of those who are considered as experts in security. But unfortunately, we are not getting the dividend of those meetings. Because I know we don't need to fight these people with infantry or artillery. Wars are no longer won with AK-47 and submachine gun, GPMS and all that. But wars are usually area battle. You remember 1991 when Saddam Hussein was boasting that it's going to be a mother of all wars.
Battle.
And that he has 600,000 soldiers on ground to face America. But America came with a new version of aircraft that cannot be detected in the radar. And when they started pounding, within 48 hours,
the war was over.
The war was over. So, Natasha has shown us that there is element of surprise in war. When they said he must not bring convoy, how would Natasha come to a constituency that there won't be solidarity convoy? Well, at the last minute, he came with a chopper. And government cannot arrest her for using chopper because chopper was not part of the list. And she didn't bring 2 choppers to suggest that it came on a convoy of choppers. So our military should begin to show that element of surprise. It doesn't take rocket science to locate this place, these people. They use telephone. You can track their phones.
To collect ransom.
To collect ransom. And people submit their ransom to them. So how would you say, if America can spend about 3 years to track Osama bin Laden, who never used email, who never used phone, if he sending somebody from Pakistan, where he was held up, to another country, it will be a chain. They would rather go by road, and nobody, they do written document. Yet he was able to be, it was tracked in the process. Then how about somebody like Toji?
What does that tell you about our intelligence gathering? Is it that we don't have the intelligence or that we don't use it? Because you also know that when our soldiers go outside, they excel. They do.
That is the point. You have just answered the question. If the same soldiers, it's just like our youngsters, our youth, you see them failing here. But that person that failed woefully here within our academic environment goes to another country in Europe, it will become a valedictory speech maker, valedictorian
of his class,
of his school. So what does that tell you? It means there was something holding him back here, that as soon as he got to the other end, he was free. We have seen Nigerians excelling in East Timor. We have seen them excelling in Liberia. We have seen them excel in Sierra Leone and other places on peacekeeping. Why are they hamstrung here that they cannot perform those feats in Nigeria? Then you should know that there is something going on. I'm told by some of these people that have gone to this theater of war that when you round up some of these insurgents, that what you find in them is a loaf of bread and sardine. Not even $1.
Okay.
But they have been radicalized to the extent that they look for faith. They embrace faith that once they kill or they are killed. In fact, one of them told me that these insurgents, most of them between 14 and 18, that they would be prodding the soldiers to kill them, that they want to go to heaven. So in their mind, they are no longer in this part of the world.
Okay, all right.
That's how bad the situation is.
All right, as we coast home now, we are out of time. Can we have your concluding thoughts on the 2 topics that we talked about?
See, anybody in government today that decides to say that they want to challenge Saudi Arabia for returning this man, then that government official or that government that gave that opportunity for this man to challenge Saudi Arabia should be arrested as accomplice.
Okay.
Because it means he has information about Gumi, and that Gumi is helping them to channel our resources to insurgency that would never go.
Okay.
That's a way of corruptive tendencies.
Okay. And on the ceiling of the PDP,
on the ceiling of the PDP, let Bode George pay. If he's so strong about what Wike did, let him use his personal money. He has money. As chairman of Nigerian Port Authority, former governor of Ondo State, he has enough resources to pay.
I would not want us to go into that chairmanship of the NPA. You know what went down between him and Obasanjo.
Well, let him resolve that.
Let's not get into that.
Let's resolve that.
Oh, well, now this is where we wrap up this conversation. Big thanks to you, Mr. Delefani.
It's always my pleasure.
Reporter and VOP in-house analyst. We appreciate your presence.
It's always my pleasure.
Okay, now on behalf of the backroom staff, the technical director, Shegu George, the ingest Samuel, the sound engineer, Reverend Paul, the bassman IK Ezema, I am Chukwuma Okoro. Up next is Issues with Jerry Apello High. Stay with us and don't go away.